Good morning, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Read Be Live. I am your host, Sharifah Hardie, and we have another incredible show for you today. If you've missed any of the past guests, you definitely want to go check them out. You can watch them on my website at readmelive.com, Facebook, YouTube, all under Read Me Live. But every show, something happens that I'm blown away. My guests are blown away. People watching are blown away. But this show, I know you definitely are going to be blown away because I have a dear friend of mine I've known since high school. He always supports me. He's always there for me, Mr. Travon Towner of Body Sapience. Good morning, Travon. How are you? Where'd you go?
Good morning.
Like,
I'm not understanding why the the lighting is doing what it's doing, but
it is you look incredible. How are you today?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
I'm excited. I'm just excited to have you here because one of the things that I found is that not everyone is willing to do a live reading. You know, I reached out to some people and they're like, yeah, I'll do it, but I won't do it live. And I'm like, no, that defeats the purpose because the reason I wanted to start doing live readings is because I know I read for you before. I read for many people before. And I got out of politics. I wanted to get out of politics because I didn't like the energy of politics. I got into politics because I wanted to be of service and I felt like I wasn't doing the good that I wanted to do. And so I moved more into what I really love to do and what I enjoy to do is reading for people. But I wanted this to be an opportunity for me to learn from you, for you to learn from me, and for us to see what happens. And if we don't do it live, if we don't share it with everyone, then again, it kind of defeats the purpose. So thank you for being here. I would love for you to tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Hi, I'm Travon. I'm a licensed massage therapist, and I'm also learning to be a Ayurvedic practitioner. So I'll be able to help people with their holistic health needs within the next year. I'll be certified to do that. But in the meantime, if you would like to get a massage, if you have any events or couples massage, weddings, any type of thing like that where you need some qualified massage therapist, you can contact me at thebodysapience.com and all my booking information is there.
Okay, so what is Body Sapience? What does that mean? What does that stand for? And how did you
Body
come up with it?
Sapience is just a more creative way to say like a body intelligence. So it's just more of an intelligent approach to the body. Um, mindful, thoughtful approaches to treatment of the body.
Mm. So one of the reasons I was especially excited about having you here today was because I learned something new. In creating this promotional flyer or the link for your show, I went to your website, I got your about me information, and you list on your website at bodysapience.com that you do an intuitive massage. And I think that's really the key word in the industry. People don't like the negative connotations with psychics. People say I did an intuitive reading or with many things. So how did you discern or decide that the massages that you do, as opposed to a regular old massage, is an intuitive massage?
Because most of the time, like when you approach someone's body, they can tell you certain things that's wrong with them. But you, as the therapist, go in and you figure out things and you touch them in certain places or in certain ways. And they was like, oh, I never would have even thought to. How did you know to go there? Well, it's just a sense that you get, or you say a sixth sense, or intuitive thought pattern, or something that's kind of beyond five sense organs that you tap into to be able to connect with people or connect with energies or whatever you call it. But it's just and it's surrounding, it's within and it's around everything. So it's just
Yeah.
tapping into that and being able to work from that standpoint. So I would say that is most likely what you tap into when you're doing your readings. You're
Yes.
using your instruments, your cards, but when you see the card, you have to tap into what you're feeling from the person, and then what kind of information that you're receiving at the time to make it relevant to that person at the time.
Absolutely. So I see that you get it. So again, my mom told me like 20 years ago when we went to all these different psychic fairs and different things like that. She was like, Sharifah, you can do that. You can do that. And I was like, I'm not doing that, because the homies gonna laugh. They be like, oh, you think you're a psychic now? And I was like, I can't do that. But now at 49, I'll be 50 in March. I'm like, this is what I want to do because, again, I want to be of service. And one of the things that changed in the way that I do my readings is before, when someone asked me to do a reading for them, I would just grab the box, grab the cards, start, doing the reading, and then be like, this is what the card said, this is what the card said, this is what the card said. And now, in this new way that I'm doing readings, I don't even get to the cards until, after we have a conversation. I'll shuffle the cards because what I'm doing is I'm really focusing on them, focusing on their energy, tapping into their energy, making a connection, and then allowing the cards to confirm what I see, what I hear, and what I feel. So when I saw that, I was like, yes, he gets it. And I love some of our conversations. We have the most interesting conversations about things that are metaphysical. So I love that. But how did you decide, or how did you determine, how did you realize that you were doing intuitive massages? Or was there a teacher who said, you know what, this is an intuitive massage?
No, it's just kind of just how I am. So I just kind of put that in there because that's most of the time what I'm using when I'm doing anything really. I'm kind of tapping into a greater intelligence. It's an intelligence. We have our own minor intelligence, but then there's a greater intelligence that I try to tap into. Sometimes, you're out of sync with it, but for the most part, when I'm doing a massage, I'm usually tapping into that to work on the person because it's like channeling that energy to help heal that person. And you can tell, the effect that you have on you can tell the effect that you have on that person by tapping into that intuitive force. And, you can feel that you had that effect on them. And then after it's done, they let oh, that felt amazing. And you could just be doing something really simple, but because you're using that force or that energy or that intelligence, it has its own effect. So that's kind of why I characterize the massage as intuitive massage.
Yes, I love that you said that, but I also, my mind always thinks marketing one way or another. So I love the fact that you said that. But from a marketing perspective, how many people actually go out and say, I do intuitive massages? I think I've never heard that before in my life. I've heard so many other things. I'm a certified, I have a certificate in being able to do massages, but only with the doTERRA essential oils. So as somebody who was a practitioner of the oils, I can do those massages. But I actually thought I was going to do more of it until I realized that the state of California does not recognize it. So that means that I'm unable to charge people for those type of massages. And I was like, okay, so basically I'm gonna just give a whole bunch of free massages to people to make them feel better, because the money for doTERRA is in the essential oils, selling oils. And I never just wanted to be a sales person. So I understand completely, what you're saying. I was taught and trained to focus on certain aspects of the body. So now I'm 50, almost 50. I got to put on my glasses because Gorgeous, whoever Gorgeous says, I don't know, beautiful name, Gorgeous. I love it. Good afternoon, both of you. Can I get a reading? Absolutely, Gorgeous. I would love to do a reading for you. If you have a quick question here, I'll be more than happy to answer, even though I'm really focused and tapping into Travon's energy. But if you want to be right there where Travon is, you can visit my website at readmelive.com, and I would love to read for you as well. You are very welcome, Gorgeous. So I was doing the massages with the essential oils. One thing that you said, Travon, is you said that you kind of know when you are tapping into the energy and when you're not. How do you know when you're like I'm not feeling it. I'm not getting the energy. How do you know when you're off?
It's just a sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a sense. You feel maybe sometimes a little more heavy. You
Mm-hmm.
more like I would say when I'm in tune with it, it's you more light.
Mm-hmm.
You're more light. Everything kind of flows.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not, when you're kind of out of sync with it, everything is like, you feel too invested in your body. You're kind of clunky and clumsy, moving around in a certain way where
Mm-hmm.
things are not synchronized.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I gauge it.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's
so,
perfect.
and anytime, I'm out of sync with that, I'll just sit still long enough, go through some breathing
Mm-hmm.
techniques, and that's kind of really how I tap into it. Because it's there, it's always there, but you just have to heighten it, bring it
Right.
out more.
Right. I love that. I love your answer. And I really was curious what you wanted to say or what you were going to say because I have the same experience. I know when I'm doing a reading and I'm on, and when I'm doing a reading and it's
You're
not
just
there.
forcing it, like you're
Yeah,
forcing
I'm
it.
forcing it. And like you, I know the energy is always there. It's not the energy, is me as the vessel that's receiving that message. And that's why anytime I do a reading, I always try to make sure I'm grounded in every way, meaning that I'm not sleepy. I'm not hungry. Like I'm really in a good space to be able to channel the energy. And then I same thing like yourself, I know how to ground myself to make sure I can get back to it. So that's a beautiful thing. We have some more questions for Trayvon. I'm putting my glasses on it. So Gorgeous says, what is coming towards me? Sometimes your body will get signal. So Gorgeous asked a simple question. What is coming towards me? So the answer I would give to that, and maybe Trayvon has a different answer, I don't know, but intuitively the answers come to me. And I always tell people the future is not written. The future is determined by what we do today. So if you want good things to come to you, Gorgeous, what are the things that you're doing right now to attract that energy? Energy is attracted, not chased. So what are you doing to attract whatever it is that you want in your life, whatever that area is? So if that area is finances and resources, what are you doing to attract a better career? What are you doing to attract any love if you want? Whatever the area it is. I mean, because there could be a million different possibilities as far as what is coming to you, but what is it that you want to attract? To me, that's the better question. And again, if you like a full reading, visit my website at readmelive.com. So just intuitively speaking, Trayvon, Gorgeous wants to know what is coming towards her. And I know you don't profess to be a reader or read that energy, but what would you say?
Um, the question is not really that clear to me, so
Mm-hmm.
I would ask to for her to define more of what she means by that.
Exactly. Hey, exactly. You know what I mean? People come to readers, and that's why I don't rush to do the cards anymore. Is
Mhm.
because it's I feel like I'm able. I was telling my friend, I said, I'm becoming the old lady. And she was like, no, Sharifah, you're the wise woman. I'm like, call it what you want, wise woman, old lady. But old ladies say whatever's on their mind. They're more direct. And so now when I do readings, I'm like, okay, what are you asking me? What is it that you want to know? Let's get to the question, But when people like, what does the future hold? I don't know. What do you want the future to hold? Maybe we can focus on what you want to create and see where you are based on that path. But back to Trayvon and Trayvon's energy. There was something else that you were saying in the beginning when you said that you were practicing for a year to be able to become, and I'm not going to mispronounce the word. So tell us what that was.
Ayurvedic practitioner.
Yes.
Just to
What is
clarify,
that?
okay, Ayurveda is an ancient uh, science. Is based in India. So it's the ancient. Well, it's actually the primary healthcare in India still
Okay.
today, but the science is based over 5,000 years ago, and it's still relevant today. People still get treated for all type of conditions and diseases based on the science of Ayurveda.
Okay.
So right now, I'm in school becoming a practitioner of doing that. So just like you have, here you have medical practitioners in allopathy. I'll
Mhm.
be a Ayurvedic practitioner. So when any type of condition that you would have that you would go to the doctor for, you can go to an Ayurvedic practitioner,
Mhm.
and your condition will be assessed
Mhm.
according to the science of Ayurveda. It'll be explained to you, and then things will be assigned to you like treatments, dietary suggestions, herbs, um, lifestyle arrangements, all of that.
So, if I'm understanding you correctly, most people commonly refer to that as alternative medicine. Is that kind of
That's
how
what
they sum it up?
that's what they call it here in America, but it's not really alternative medicine. It's a holistic approach. It's a holistic approach, but this one is not alternative because there's a whole country where this is their primary care. So it's
Okay.
not an alternative to them. You know, it might be, we might call it alternative, but a lot of people that have certain conditions here, like people will get assigned like to get surgeries for a certain arthritis,
Hmm.
have rheumatoid arthritis, and they get surgeries here. Well, people who don't want to get the surgery, they'll just save that money and go to India, and they'll get treated in India. Uh, there are certain kind of treatments that you do for your joints,
Hmm.
and their collagen gets restored into their joints, and they don't have to get the surgery.
Hmm.
So there's many other treatments that people will go there for. If you have that knowledge about the science,
Hmm.
then you can use it as an as an alternative.
No, I love it. I love it because that's what I've seen doctors call it, either holistic medicine or alternative medicine. Because here in America, we tend to want a pill for everything. Pop this pill, and then you'll be better. And so often, I found, at least personally, that sometimes the consequences of the pill that you're taking are worse than the issue that you were trying to treat.
Exactly. In Ayurveda, you have many doctors now that are like, I have some doctors in my class now. There's a few doctors that they're uh, learning it and integrating it into their practice because there's a lot of, it's just the science of the diet, the science of the Ayurvedic diet. It's so profound that people are using it to incorporate into what they can prescribe to their patients
And
because it alleviates a lot of things.
you said it's going to be a year for you.
Yeah, this I'm it's actually, it's a 2.5 year program.
Okay.
I'm completing my first year now. In December it'll be my first year. So
Okay. Well, congratulations. I know I saw a photo of you at a ceremony with a bunch of people.
yeah, well, I went to India, so
Oh, you went to India?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, I went
wow.
to India to learn from the doctors there. So we
Yeah.
actually were in the hospital, in the college, like going to lectures. We were shadowing the doctors, treating patients, watching them do intakes, treating the patients, and all of that. So we got a chance to do all of that.
Okay. I'm going to follow up on a question, but we asked Gorgeous to be more specific.
One
Hello.
second, let me plug in my
Gorgeous didn't
computer.
come back. She said, "What is coming towards me in finances? What is coming to me towards me in finances?" That's a specific question. I love it. We would have to get the actual reading, Gorgeous, in order to come up with more of a response. I want to say hi to Zola. Zola is waving with her little beautiful pink. And Zola, I'm trying to get you on the show. Come on here, get your reading because you are incredible. And I want everyone to know how incredible you are. Sunflower says, "May I ask, how does Ilyas feels about me?" Again, specific question. We can do a reading because those things, see, I can't give you, or I won't give you, this person loves you. That's their free will. At the end of the day, we can look at your situation, we can look at you, we can look at your energy and see where you are in regards to love. And based on that path that you're on, you can open up to so many different things. Um, Back to Travon and you. I love doing this. I want to help as many people as I can. And I feel like I'm being more of a service this way as opposed to in politics. And I have the other aspect of being able to introduce people to some incredible people like my friend Zorla. Incredible. This woman is a bad mama jamma. So I'm trying to get her to do a reading and to come on here. But back to you, Travon. One thing that's interesting to me, and what I saw in the picture when I didn't even know you were in India, I thought you were in a celebration here, is I saw, first of all, a lot of women, and then I see Travon, the black man. Do you ever, no, seriously, and I don't mean to judge, but do you ever feel like more black people? This is just a question, even if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. I don't care. But do you ever feel like, because I feel the same thing. Like I get more pushback from black people about doing intuitive readings or tarot readings or whatever. Do you ever feel like you're an example that you can open this up to more black men?
Oh, absolutely. That's almost, I mean, that's one of the motivations that I have, is to open things up to us that primarily we know, we have no idea that these things exist. So open these things up as an alternative, and for something that works. So whether somebody wants to pursue it as a career, or just somebody may want to be treated in this way, and to know that there's other ways to handle this machine, this body, which is what the name of my company is about, Body Sapience. It's just a more intelligent approaches to the body. And there's all type of ways, but this one in which I'm in is it's a science that's been laid out, and this science been laid out from sages. So these are like wise people who were beyond intuitive, like they tapped into the source and was able to extract this information and jot it all down as a science. So yes, I hope that this does open up things for other black men to pursue and broaden their horizons.
That's beautiful because, we went to the same high school. Shout out to DBM. And I've gone to many funerals. And what shocked me and began to affect me emotionally is the majority of the people I went to their funeral were black men, right? And most of them had passed from health issues. A lot of it comes down to our diet. I had a friend who passed away because he fell asleep behind the wheel while he was driving, and he passed away. But then I could still associate that to health because he wasn't getting plenty of rest. So I also think it's wonderful that you're like, okay, let me not only help myself, let me not only do this as a business, but find ways to be able to help people. So when you were in India, I just have to ask this because I'm like, this is so intriguing to me. Did you see anything or have any experience where you were surprised yourself? Because it's one thing to have book knowledge where you're like, okay, well, if you change this in your diet, you no longer have arthritis. But when you were there, did you see anything where you were like, oh my God, that actually worked?
Oh yeah. Many things. One thing that was interesting, like in Ayurveda, they do, it's called Rakta Mukshana, which is a bloodletting, and they have this in other cultures. But what they prescribe bloodletting for, which I saw it being practiced, which was really interesting. And they had some lady; she had like extreme pain in her joints, and they would do blood. They did bloodletting on her. They opened up a artery and let the let the blood out. And this is used as a to alleviate pain. So I found that to be interesting, in which I never even thought about it before. But because pain is in the nerves, and the nerve is an electrical signal, but it starts off as a chemical, because the nerves convert chemicals into electrical impulses. So when you're having a acute pain in certain areas, they would do bloodletting in that area, and then once the blood is cleared, so is the pain. And then new blood comes there, and then you don't have any more pain. So I saw that being practiced. So that was a very interesting thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then I learned some other type of treatments. There's is a type of diagnosis where they would use to poke, they would use their fingers
Mm-hmm.
and put them in certain areas of
Mm-hmm.
your body, and that part of your body, it resonates a certain sound.
Mm-hmm.
And these sounds, because in Ayurveda, the science is everything is made from 5 elements.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever it is in the universe, it all comes from 5 elements. So
Hmm.
your body, the planets, space, stars, they all are comprised of 5 elements, but in different percentages. So even the
Mm-hmm.
human body is made from this. So certain organs have uh, the elements. When they're healthy, the elements are arranged in a certain way so they, when you tap them, they make a certain sound. So
Mm-hmm.
if there's a deficiency in it, or if there's if there's an aggravation or whatever, when you tap it, there's ways that it sounds, and that indicates if there's something there that needs to be filled. And it's based on elements.
Mm-hmm.
So based on a certain sound, you could tell which element is lacking in that organ,
Mm-hmm.
and then the treatment is prescribed. But these are doctors. There's doctors that do this, and they're very, very good at it. So
Mm-hmm.
we were able to see people being treated in that, and then they were there. So some of them were doctors who had these conditions. They were other type of doctors. So they would come in and they would tell us what their condition was and how this other doctor, treated them and alleviated their condition. And
Mm-hmm.
these are kind of like some severe conditions, but they were able to diagnose it and treat it based on, you know, just tapping it and
Mm-hmm.
listening to the sound. So that was another thing that was very interesting. Then there was another situation where once a month this is where they immunize the children in this community,
Mm-hmm.
and their immunization is not they don't give them shots like how we do here. They would infuse gold. They would use gold dust and put it in this little concoction of ghee.
Mm-hmm.
There was another mixture that they would use, and they give it to these children on an auspicious day of the month,
Mm-hmm.
because it's more the body is more acclimated to absorb certain things on certain times of the month.
Mm-hmm.
So all of this is in the science of Ayurveda. So they would give these children these doses every month. So all the cute children from the community shows up, and just so happened, I just so happened to be there on that day to see
Mm-hmm.
this happen. So we were able to watch them mix it together and give the children this oral infusions. And what this does, they do these treatments for them from the time that they're like a few days old all the way up to they're like, I believe it was like 10 years old,
Mm-hmm.
because uh, one of the reasons when you do the research as far as gold, when you look at the way that the neurons develop in the body, all of them have traces of gold in them.
Mm-hmm.
They are, your body has minerals, and so it has copper, it has mercury, it has all of these different minerals in it. But
Mm-hmm.
gold is very significant in neurological development. So they would use this to enhance the intelligence of the children and their immunity. So this is a science that's been laid out, like it's laid out in Ayurveda very extensively. But
Mm-hmm.
now through modern research, they're finding out that just the very base of the cells is developed. It has large traces of gold in it. So they already knew this way back in the day without no equipment or anything, but just by, going back to intuition. But even stronger than the intuition, this is like uh, them truly being able to see the connectivity. But
Mm-hmm.
intuition is also involved. Something has to lead you there to know to look further into it. So this is those are a few things that I found to be very intriguing and very interesting on this trip.
I think that's beautiful, Trayvon. I really believe that that is just so beautiful. And your answer was exactly what I knew it would be. I didn't know what I knew there had to be some experience, but it was your answer was far more than I ever expected. And it's also what I found in doing the readings. Because, like I said earlier, when my mom told me 20 years ago that I could do this, I had two schools of thought. One school of thought was, those are special people. Like only certain people are psychic. We all have intuition. We all have a sixth sense. We all have the ability to do it. The other aspect of it for me was I felt like what they're not doing anything. All they're doing is flipping over a card. You know, a trade monkey can flip over a card. Then now maturing and really truly understanding that it's not just about the card. It's about, like we said earlier, what I hear, what I feel, what I intuitively pick up on the person. And that now is able to come out in my readings. I also have a belief when I heard you say, it just so happened. I always personally say, anytime I say or I hear it just so happened, that's God. Because my belief is if you take two people, a man and a woman, and you put them on a deserted island and they had no idea about anything, they haven't read one book, one scripture, anything, there's that still small voice inside of them that says, you know what, go to the water, you know, get this little stick, do this way, and this is how you learn how to fish. There's something inside them that tells them that they need shelter, right? So it'll teach them. That voice inside them is like, okay, if you cut these logs, or you got to create. And over time they do it because they're listening to that voice, and then they'll survive, and then they'll create future people. Because I believe that everything that we're doing is so we can survive as humans on this earth. And so your explanation was so beautiful to me, because even when I thought about holistic medicine or alternative medicine, there's, to me, the marketing push in today's society that we think people just, let me tune in, you know, and some people do, but it's like, let me just tune in, but that there's no science behind it. And everything that you said was not only about intuition, but it was about the science that somehow these people were led to.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
That is so beautiful. And I spent years studying the cards. My mom taught me. I'm a third generation reader. So it's been a lot of time, years, over 30 years of practice in reading the cards. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to start with Travon's reading. We're going to get to the cards. We're going to get to the reading. And intuitively, and because of my experience, we're going to interpret the messages that Travon needs to hear right now. I've asked God to bless this reading. God, Holy Spirit, different names. But I also asked him to speak to me in signs and symbols that I understand. But not only signs and symbols that I understand, but signs and symbols that Travon understands, which is one reason why I like to remove the veil of secrecy from psychics or tarot readers. And I give people the exact card that I pulled. I always recommend, if you're so called, that they write down the card, because sometimes there's a meaning when you Google it or research it, and you're like, you know what? That makes more sense to me. You know, Sharifah said this, but this is exactly what I think that they meant to say. So the first card that I have for Travon is Death, the Death card. And I love, 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 love that this came up for you, Travon. I had a show yesterday, and the issue is the main theme in your life, the main theme that you're going through. And yesterday's show, I did a reading for a lady, and I did not get the death card. And I asked her if she had any questions after the reading, and she was like, yes, is there a death card in your deck? And I was like, absolutely. Every tarot deck has a death card. Like, it is one of the lessons that we learn. It's a major arcana card, and major arcana cards are major life lessons. There are major arcana cards, there are minor arcana cards, and I spend a lot of time teaching, so that this reading is not just for Travon, it's for anyone who's listening. Maybe they can learn something for what Travon is allowing me to do in connecting to his energy. But arcana means change. So it's major life changes and minor life changes. Major arcana cards are major life changes that change the course of history. These are the lessons that you have to learn. So these are your deaths. These are your births. These are your weddings. These are your divorces. These are things where life will never be the same, but you have to learn this lesson. When somebody has primarily a lot of major arcana cards, I know intuitively, I think that's going to be the word, that this person is going through a lot right now in their life. If primarily they have minor arcana cards, they tells me that basically, they're kind of going to continue on this path, because minor arcana cards are about minor life changes. These are things that affect you basically during that day. Maybe somebody gave you a thank you. Maybe they gave you did a massage, and that massage was $500, but they said you were so wonderful and you got every point, I'm gonna give you additional $500. It's beautiful in that day, right? You feel good, but 30 years from now, you most likely may not even remember that, right? So death, the lady yesterday said, oh, well, what about death? Right? Because she was like, I was so afraid in the reading that I was going to get the death card. And I was like, why? The death card is one of my favorite cards. She's like, why? I said, because I call the death card my butterfly card. It's a butterfly for me, because death is about transformation. We talked about energy before. Energy, it just transforms. It just goes into another form. It's not destroyed. So you cannot become the butterfly without being the caterpillar. You cannot go straight to the butterfly. You have to be the caterpillar first. So if you, Travon, have been the caterpillar, if you have been the student, this is a wonderful sign that the butterfly that you're going to become is so much better, so much greater, the person that you're evolving into. Gorgeous, I love the feedback. Gorgeous says death is Scorpio energy, which is absolutely true. And Scorpios are the sign of death and rebirth. So thank you for that, Gorgeous. I love the fact that we're learning together. So this is telling me again that there's renewal and that you will be reborn into what you want to be. So the transformation that you're going through right now is your main issue, because the next card that you have is the 10 of Cups. 10 of Cups is the challenge, the death card. 10 of Cups is the happily ever after card. For me, it stands for fulfillment. 10 is about completion, right? But 10s also, in numerology, you always have to break down a number to its lowest common denominator, add it. So 1 and 0 is 1. So tarot is called the Fool's Journey. The reason it's called the Fool's Journey is because God protects fools and babies, fools and infants. Those are the only two people in the world who don't believe that they know everything. They're open, right? So when the fool's journey starts with the fool and it ends with the world. And once you get through the end of this journey, guess what? You wind up being the fool again. Everything in life is cyclical. It goes around in circles. So in this, again, I see that with death, in this transformation, you've gone through a certain amount of your journey, and then now you have to start over. You've gotten to some level of fulfillment, some level of happiness, but now you begin again on your next journey. The other aspect of one is got one of the spiritual numbers, in that you're now connected with the one, with the divine, with the all that there is. Okay, because the next card that I have for you is the Hermit. The Hermit, right? The Hermit, I love that energy for you, Travon, because the Hermit is about going within. This is not a time for you to necessarily take what other people want, to be around people. This card symbolizes to me two things. When the Holy Quran was revealed to Prophet Muhammad, it was revealed in a cave by himself. One of the things that Jesus always did was go out into the desert. These are about you going to that space within and finding your who you are, your inner light, your inner guidance, because that's what it's kind of difficult sometimes, but you see he's holding a lantern in his hand. So he's setting off on this journey, right? But it's about him. It's about who he is, because the next card that you have is the Ace of Wands. And I love how certain colors make the cards just glow. So the fourth card is the Ace of Wands, which for me is beautiful, especially for you, because the Ace of Wands is movement. is action. It's about stepping out there with the information that you have garnered as the hermit. But the ace is again a minor arcana card, and minor arcana cards are always symbolized for me like that customer service survey that you receive whenever you go into a store. They always send you a survey on a scale of 1 to 10. What do you think of our customer service? 10 being excellent, one being you need to work, right? So the ace is 0. Ace is symbolic of infinity. Ace is infinite possibilities. So, with what you want to create, with what you want to do with Body Sapience, this is my sign telling me there are infinite possibilities. There are infinite ways that you can go, but you have to first determine and discern who you are, what you want to do, and where you want to go. 0 to me, I always equate that to the baby that hasn't been born yet. And for those of us who have multiple children, we all know children are different, right? They all have their different quirks, they all have their different possibilities. When they're in utero, we don't know exactly who they are, so they have the full possibility of being anything. That baby could be a teacher, that baby could be a lawyer, that baby could be the next criminal. We don't know, because once it becomes tangible, it actually has less power than when it was before it was born. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So with the ace of wands, again, you can be whoever it is that you want to be. You can go as far as you want to go, because the next card that I have is the page of wands. Page of wands, right? The page of wands, pages are messengers. Pages, back in the day when there were kings and castles, the page had one job, and his one job was to deliver the message for the king. The king's job was to sit on the throne. That's what the king did. He not gonna get up. He was fat. He was not about to get up and walk and say, "I need a sandwich." No, he is gonna sit on his throne. So the page always delivers message. Wands, action, movement. So, and wands usually symbolize work or career. So this tells me again that there are messages coming for you if you can be the hermit and have that still space, that, like we talked about earlier, the grounding, that for who you are, you will receive a message. And I love this. This is beautiful for you, Travon. It's the 8 of wands. 8 of wands. You got some wands. You got some action. You have some movement that's coming in. So 8 is a very, very beautiful, blessed symbol and sign, because the 8 is about abundance. It's about abundance. 8 is about abundance. The other thing about the 8 is when you look at that scale of 0 to 10, 5 is always your challenges. 5 is always your hardest test, your hardest part, right? So the 8 tells me that you've gone past the hardest times, that good times are ahead of you. Another reason why I love the 8 of wands is that if you look at the card, there are 78 decks. So again, like I say in the description of every show, is that I don't believe anything happens by happenstance. I don't believe it just so happens. When I hear it just so happens, I know that is God. So it was divinely orchestrated for you to receive the 10 cards that you receive. So I love the 8 of wands, because the 8 of wands is a lazy card for me. Not lazy in a bad way, but the 2 of wands says step out in faith. It says step out there and take initiative. The 8 of wands says that there's nothing that you have to do. You don't have to change. You don't have to move. You don't have to learn this lesson. You just have to be open to receive, because the 8 wands, like you can see in this card, they're already on their way. They've been shot. There's nothing that you have to do. You just receive and be open to what comes your way. Be open to the new opportunities, the wands, the new offers that are coming your way. Be open to them. That's all you have to do. And also have discernment based on your knowledge, your information, and your stillness. You'll be able to say, you know what, that opportunity works for me, that opportunity doesn't work for me. I want to do this, I don't want to do that, but new opportunities are coming your way. Sunflower 6 says beautiful reading. Thank you, I appreciate it. I love the assistance from everyone and the feedback, because the next card that I have for you, one of my favorites all time in the deck, is the 4 of wands. You are moving with that action, Travon. Like, they
I
are
see the
telling.
wands are big today, huh?
Yes, but that's good. That's fire. That's action. That's movement. That's saying yes. You're right where you're supposed to be, which I never doubted for a moment, just knowing you. But the Four of Wands is my celebration card. It's about celebrate. That's like, because I hear music too. It's that song "Celebrate Good Times." This is about celebrating good times. These are your receptions. These are times. These are your what you call them, your holiday times, when people come together for Thanksgiving and there's a lot of family and you're like, oh, this is what I'm doing. Four of Wands is celebrating. We're celebrating good times because beautiful, beautiful. The next card that you have is the Eight of Pentacles. Pentacles is about money. But it's also the physical manifestation of whatever it is that you need. So maybe you have some books, or even going to India. We'll use that as an example. Sometimes maybe you need to go back to India and you say to yourself, I have absolutely no idea how I'm gonna get the money to go to India. But somebody comes to you and they say, Travon, I love what you're doing. I want to support you. Here's a ticket to India. Pentacles, money is not always the actual dollars. It's the physical manifestation, whatever it is that you need. Eight of Pentacles is the mastery card. You see, again, it's above the five. You've mastered. Like, I wanted you to talk about what you were doing. There's a lot that people can learn, not even just from the reading, but what you had to say earlier. I never knew any of that stuff. I learned a lot from you, but you are a master and you're mastering. Let me just say that, because you're learning more. We're always learning. We're always evolving. But this is about somebody who's not the intern. You know what I mean? You already have your own business. You already know how to do intuitive massage. So you have mastered the aspect of what you're doing. Yeah. Eight of Pentacles, abundance. But then the next card that you have is the Tower. The Tower is a major arcana card. It's still one of my favorite cards, but the Tower talks about unexpected changes. And sometimes that's our fear of having an unexpected change. We believe, oh, we're going this way, this is my path, this is what I'm going to do, and all of a sudden there's some change happens that in our life, and we're like, okay, well, how did I wind up here? And it's so interesting that I did one of the readings yesterday for the lady, and she got the Tower. She has, and shout out to Allison at shopshadylady.com. She got the Tower, and she was like, what does that mean? Is that catastrophic change? And I said, well, I can't tell you whether it's catastrophic change. What I can tell you is that it may be a change that's unexpected, right? But I also believe that God speaks to us. God speaks to everyone. Because I believe it would be unfair of God or Holy Spirit not to speak to us, not to give us signs and symbols. And so often I did another show with Tanya, and we were talking about her expression. She has this expression where she says, I need a sign of your sign. And she told me that offline. And I was like, you have to tell the people about what a sign of your sign is. And we were talking, it was a great conversation. It's on my website at readmelive.com. But she said a sign of your sign is when we ask God for a sign. And we say, God, give me a sign. Just like Sunflower wants to know about how Ilya's feel. Okay, Sunflower, I would ask God to give you a sign. You'll get some type of indication. You'll get some type of feeling on what way that you need to go. And so if we ask God for a sign, and then we get the sign, and then we go, okay, God, I don't know if that was the sign. I may need a sign of your sign. Like, we always expect, like the movie Bruce Almighty, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. We always expect these red flashing lights and this thing that says, go right, go left, get married. No. You feel it in your heart. You feel it in your soul. You feel it in your spirit, right? So if God gives us signs that it's time to move, he gives us signs that it's time for you to go this way or go that way or go back to school or move or get married, whatever the sign is, and we don't heed that sign, it gets louder and louder and louder. And that's when you wind up with the Tower, right? So what happens in the Tower is that a bolt of lightning hits the Tower. That's what happened in this picture, in this image, in this lesson. And as we all know, it's very difficult, if possible, to predict when lightning is going to strike. That's one of the most, known things about lightning striking, is that nobody knows when it's going to hit. right? So it comes out of the blue. It comes unexpectedly, but it doesn't necessarily, I'm a Pollyanna. I don't view anything as negative. I believe there's a blessing in everything. There's a lesson in everything. So even though the tower hits the castle and the castle burns down, the king is not happy, but there were slaves who were in the bottom of the castle. And now, as a result of this foundation, because that's what it's about, ideas, foundations that we believe to be true. We believe, that that's the joke. How do you make God laugh? You tell him your plans, right? So to me, that's the energy of the tower of saying, I know absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt, this is what I'm going to do. And God's like, oh, he's so cute. Like that's what he thought we were going to do. And so sometimes things happen that are unexpected in our life to move us in the direction that we are meant to go in. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So does it, the order that they come out in, is this is like a future situation, or what is this? Or is this
Excellent.
something that already happened?
Excellent question. Because in the spread that I'm doing, I don't give out the positions really. I kind of, read it. Like I gave you the number one because the main one is always the issue. Like the theme of your life is the issue, but it's just so interesting, intuitively, psychically beautiful that the one position that you asked about for the tower is the hopes and fears. So it's in the hopes and fears position. And so what that means is what we hope for is also what we fear the most. So that's, for instance, somebody who really, really, super, really, really wants to be a public speaker, but they're afraid of public speaking. So when I see the tower in the hopes and fears, tells me that there is a fear of unexpected change. Like sometimes we get to, again, because you had the 10 of cups. The 10 of cups is about fulfillment. So sometimes when we're the happiest in our lives, we go, oh my God, like, is this going to last? Is this going to work? Because there's a fear that everything is going to change. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so I've done 9 cards, and then I always tell the first, I always tell the 10th. And so the 10th card is always the final outcome. It says, you said all of that. We went around the mulberry bush, but at the end of the day, what does Travon need to know? And the card that I have for you is the 9 of Swords. The 9 of Swords, right? 9 of Swords, which for me is a beautiful omen. Personally, I love when minor arcana cards wind up as the final outcome, because that means that basically to a certain extent, you're going to stay on the same path that you're on. There's not like a sudden change, a sudden shift, and now you need to learn this lesson, that you're going to learn this lesson now. So the 9 of Swords is a sword, which is swords, which means swords are all about intellect. It's about thoughts, right? The 9 of Swords is about fears. And there's a song that Mariah Carey wrote in the lyrics years ago. In the lyrics to that song, which I always hear with the 9 of Swords, is she says, I know you think my love is slipping away, but baby, it's all in your mind, right? So the 9 of Swords energy is, if you have any fears, they're all in your mind. They're not real, because again, the 9 of Swords, you've passed the 5, right? It's over. The 5 is done. So in the 5 of Swords, you honestly really did have some challenges. There were some real things that happened. You didn't imagine that there was some pain, that there was some loss. But just because it's happened in the past doesn't mean it's about to happen now. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So this is saying there's nothing for you to worry about. There's nothing for you to worry about at all. Everything that's happening, it is, you're on a good course. You're on a good path. Don't worry about the things that could go wrong. Don't worry about if something, might happen. There's nothing for you to fear. All is well. Right here, right now, this here, this now, all is well, right? Anything that you worried about is about the fears of what has happened in the past. Okay?
Yeah, it makes
Does
sense.
does that reading resonate with you?
Absolutely. It does. It really does. And like the reading I got from you before, like I always see that it's a theme in my life, is that the hermit, like it's something always calling me to that, or that's like I don't know. That's kind of like who I am
Mm-hmm.
in a sense, because that came up before in the last reading, and then things just kind of circled around that.
Mm-hmm.
How how much of I'm involved in that, or how much I'm away from that. Other things, kind of happen or happen this way or that way based on that. So yeah, this reading is really it's a really good reading. It's
Well,
really
you see patterns, but you also have, so to me, if that's how you feel, I would highly recommend researching or googling the energy of the hermit, right?
mm,
Because one key thing about the hermit is always the wise person. And the wise person can always teach others. So to me, this will also be an indication that you might be called to teach, which confirms what we were talking about earlier, that you going into this industry can open the door for other Black people, other Black men, because now you are the wise person who has the ability to, because there's not, I mean, just personally, I've known you for years, but I can tell you there are not many people that I can have these kind of conversations with, these especially metaphysical, spiritual conversations, and you can be that person to be the voice for the people. So again, and it's about going inside, calming yourself and going away from other people and what other people believe. So I would recommend, because that's a mate, if you, especially if it's repeating, because I don't remember what the last reading was. I think that's probably 3 or 4 years ago. But if it came up again, that's a sign, that's an indication that this, like you said, is a pattern, a theme in your life. So who is the hermit? What does that look like? And I would recommend that you read it further. Do you have any questions for me?
um no, uh I think I kind of asked it, and you kind of covered everything. I got the names of the cards, so I'll look more into those and then see what else jumps out.
Okay, that is so beautiful. We're coming down to the last few seconds of the show, and what I love to do at the end of every show is just simply allow my guests the opportunity to speak directly to the audience, to everyone who is watching this show live, as well as everyone who is watching in the archives, and let them know any final parting words that you would like to leave them with.
Well, I would definitely recommend you as a tarot reader, because um, everything that you brought out is pretty much, it resonates. It resonates, and you had a good flow with it. So I do appreciate that. I appreciate you having me on, and hopefully we could do this again. I will definitely be contacting you more to get more reading.
And Body Sapience.
And Body Sapience, for anybody who would like to get a massage, I have an office downtown, and I'm also mobile, so I could come to you. So you can find all of my information on my website at thebodysapience.com.
That is so wonderful. Sunflower had a question. We're coming down to the last few seconds. What would you like to know, Sunflower? She's like, I'm typing fast. I'm typing as fast. She's watching on YouTube. So, hey, we got a couple of seconds. We're willing to answer the question live. If you wanted to ask, may I ask, we just answer that? You want to know how Ilyas feels about me? I just told you, ask me for a reading at readmelive.com, or ask God for a sign. I believe that it would be an unfair God. That's what I always look at, what's fair and what's not, to not answer you in some formal way. So the question I would ask Yusra is, how do you feel about Ilyas? How do you feel when you're with him? How does he make you feel? If those answers give you positive energy, and when you tap into his energy, you feel good, and whatever your situation is works for you, hey, that's as far as I can go right now. I want to thank you, Travon, for allowing me to read for you, especially to read for you live. That takes a lot of courage. And if you want to sit right where Travon is, please visit my website at readmelive.com. Until next time, everyone have a safe and a blessed